We have 4 new weapons on 5.2, including a much stronger one than I thought. And also free of charge. They're bringing a brutal amount of weapons in NATLAN lately, and not only that, but the pattern that was before free character, free weapon, a version yes, no version before it was very strict, and now it seems that since the arrival of NATLAN, the issue of giving us free weapons is becoming much more continuous than before, I imagine. Because they know that in NATLAN many new people have come to Genshin. They need to get a day with all the above, and they need to equip a very large number of characters, as more and more banners and more characters come. So today we're going to see these 4 new 5.2 weapons, which are sure to surprise you. And you know, this is the time when I tell you to like, you subscribe, a bell, a good comment for the algorithm. Thank you very much. It doesn't cost you nothing. Totally free. Recommends, positions the video, viralizes the channel, the project, and everything what you are seeing so that we can also grow and bring you more and better content, and the entire channel team too. And remember that blessing draws are already active once a day just for commenting. Give like and leave a good comment. You are participating in a blessing draw once a day, but count all participations in all videos, including shorts that I upload to the channel and videos when I upload 2 videos a day. Good luck! It can touch you, and be careful that protos with Mavuika are going to be scarce. And we're going with the new 5.2 weapons. Well, let's start with Chaska's 5-star arch, which we knew character. New 5 stars comes with your weapon, and basically it's an arc that I don't think will serve you to many characters, but already from here I tell you, if there is any character that anyone serve and we are going over it in the video, leave it in the comments. The Arch of Chaska is as follows. Has the same stats as the Arch of Liney. 608 base attack and 66 critical damage, i.e. just like Liney. And in fact, remember that on the banner come Liney more Chaska, with which the 2 arches that come have the same base stats, same base attack, same critical damage, substat. What's the difference? The passive one. The passive is totally different from the passive Liney team. First it says 12 seconds after activating a whirlwind reaction, it increases the attacker of the carrier to around 24%. Weapons 5 stars, the Juarez Ron Soy. And this is that the truck that carries this weapon says it activates Torbellino's reaction. I don't know if I carry that isn't a Nemos and make a hit, and that punch jumps reaction of Whirlpool because there's an Nemo source in the field, I can activate this weapon. I'm not sure, but for scaring us off and doing things cautiously, I'd say it's just to take him with archers of the Anemo element. I mean, they're closing this for you. Which carries a Nemo or sub DPS with brutal damage? Other than Faruzan. Because Faruzan, it's support, and you want to wear Favonius. Can you carry this bow? Well, the truth is none of them. Today there are no Anemo archers who do a lot of damage. 20 hurt? 20 hurt could be. Then it says additionally when 1 or 2 characters on the team are of a different kind. Elementary, i.e. not Anemo. You know that Chaska has to have 3 different characters from elements that aren't Anemo. It can be 3 pyros, or it can be an electro, a hydro, a pyro. But well, let's not be Anemos, for apart from that, the damage inflicted on the character of the bow is going to increase 20% for each character other than type 1 or 2 of the archer element type that the arch that is Anemos. So in short, it gives you 24% attack if you're an Anemo archer, and 40% damage inflicted. Additionally, if you have 2 different elements, in my opinion 20, apart from Chaska, this arc can be amazing for 20 and says in a part. The damage of the elementary ability also increases by 10%, 24% if there are 1 or 2 characters that they are not of your element, and this scales up to a lot more. This last passive for Chaska is incredible, because the punches of the loader are considered elementary skill damage. Doesn't say elementary burst. No elementary skill, it's the ulti. Excuse me, correct, it's the ulti. The damage inflicted on the ulti increases another 10%, 24% for Chaska to do more damage with that. The ulti in general, no, because it is for 20. I think the character that can use this is 20 to damage sub DPS. And if you get that, really hits the enemies. 20 has a scale of damage in the ulti and many whirlwinds. And very large multi-hits is a very good arc for 20 sub DPS. Although 20 cannot always fit your ulti well into enemies. In short, 24% attack. If you are a Nemo element and activate a whirlwind, 40% damage. Inflicted in general if you have 2 elements that are not yours other than a Nemo. And if you carry 3 different elements, no longer gives you more in damage in the ulti of 10-24%. If you carry 1 or 2 distinct elements, you will take 2, with which 24 years in the ulti 40 of damage inflicted and 24 attack. She's a bitch. She's a bitch. She's so hot. But you can only use her perfectly. 20 and Chaskadi. If the whirlwind reaction can be activated by a character other than a Nemo, if there is one, an Nemo source out of the field and you haste, for example, something with Pyro, or a Yonia, and all of a sudden that hit jumps a whirlwind Pyro and activates it, then I think the bow is broken. In general, and apart from this, that there are 2 different elements that also have damage. In the ulti, I think in general it could be a very broken bow even for Yellen without having, in view of the attack, but taking into account the 40 years inflicted, and the 24% damage inflicted. In the ulti, that would be 64% of damage inflicted on the ulti. So Yelan can maybe use it without activating this passive attack would be a good arc for Yelan, so I think the arc itself to activate everything concrete has to be Chaska and Venti, but for the characters of Genshin to take good potential, they can use many characters because the passive of the 40 years inflicted and the passive of the 24 harm inflicted on your ulti can trigger a lot of characters just with 2 characters with an element other than the character carrying the weapon, i.e. 67 critical damage. And 64% damage to the ulti, 40% harm inflicted on your elementary ability, and good at everything. What you do because it's 40 years inflicted, I think it's an arch of those who are good. On a global level like the Aqua Simulacra, I think we are facing the second best arc of the game. If all these passives are easy, at least the last 2 harm inflicted to activate with any archer character, and I think that in principle you can so. And if not, correct me the comments. Next weapon. Now there are 3 weapons of 4 stars. I think obviously the free event that is also very strong. I go to leave for the end weapon of Catalyst. Very curious. This is of life and recharge since for Bayujul, for characters who are life catalysts and recharge, as I don't know how Kokomi. As Barbara says, gun 554 gives that base the minimum of 4 stars, very little, 61% of recharging me if I'm wrong, but I think it's the first catalyst we have. That gives us 61% recharge of energy if we have Sacrifice and Favonius swords, to a hand that gives us 61% recharge, but we did not have a catalyst yet that of 61%. To recharge, the Favonius catalyst gives us like 30, and something like that, then a lot. Karen Passive says this is the typical passive of new weapons that have come 4 stars in Natal, where it reduces the cost of endurance when we are doing something. Basically in this is the cost of swimming, and then these are not going to be used, and no one is looking forward to. This isn't anything that makes you throw by the gun either, but here comes how strong it says when is this elementary ability. The maximum life increases by 20% to run to 40% of R5. This R5 weapon may be complicated to get because it's 4 banner promotional stars, even if it's by 4 stars only comes out on the concrete weapons banner that appears to be coming out is not light. The Dragon's Loss, for example, that appears on any banner at any time, but R5 gives you already 40% maximum life, and apart it says that for every Hydro that is on your team, you will further increase the maximum life by 12% to a maximum of 2 stacks, i.e. if you carry 2 Hydros will increase by 24% more life to Roan and 48% to R5 with 2 Hydros once every 15 seconds normal once per rotation of each team. Then this gun R5, who gets it, gives you 61% recharge and gives you 98% of life. 98, I just bit the tongue. 98% of life gives you this. I'm sorry 88, I've spent 88% of my life. It's crazy what gives you life. And Roan who takes it out without. Refinance will also give you 61 recharge and 44% of life. That is not bad. Let us remember that the Amber Prototype gives us 41% of life in its stat, and then passive generates healing ticks to everything. The equipment with what works well to activate more loads of Furina, because when it goes up or down % the life of all the equipment is activated, more loads of damage inflicted, and also the Amber Prototype. It doesn't give us so much energy, but if it generates energy to the character, that is throwing the ulting. I think it's 3 ticks of 6. I think it's 18 of energy. What it gives you is to say, this is very similar to the Amber Prototype, but when you have many refinements, 88 of life, the prototype is broken. Amber in exchange for not giving you healing ticks that activates more loads of Furina, but if the Geiler then Dial Wall. With this weapon already activates all the loads of Furina or Furina is C2, with which in a few seconds you already have all the charges with Furina C2. This weapon would be better than the Amber prototype, as long as you don't mind the Amber healing ticks, that is for Baiju of course, with well. Refinement will surely be of the best, bearing in mind that there is also the Dragon Hunter, and characters like Charlotte Irako, Dragon Hunter. Although Charlotte goes with Attack. Characters like Kokomi also use Dragon Hunters on some team, and in blue, use Sacrifice to reset the elemental, and not have to spend energy on throwing the Ultima, and characters like Baiju also in some teams with enough recharge carry Dragon Hunters to pass the Dragon Hunter to Sino or to Clorind and burst with those characters then. The gun is interesting to R5, which is complicated to get, gives us those 88% life and 61% of recharge. That is boring, but it is true that users of Catalyst and Life to this day. I've mentioned most of you who are Barbara, Kokomi, Baiju, Charlotte with Attack, but still recharged. You may well have other alternatives. Blame the Dragon Hunter that exists since day 1 of 3 stars, and in the end compete very well with these weapons. But leave me the comments, Sue. You're forgetting some Catalyst that wants a lot of recharge and life. Don't tell me Nubile, because he doesn't want that much recharge and that it might work for him. But the next weapon seems interesting. This is very curious because this arch is a 4-star arch. Remember when came the bossy of Descenders that I told you could become a new roof in gaming? Although you have to change the whole build as well, this weapon can be very curious. Because it's a loaded gun, I read it to you and tell you what you can compare it to directly gives us 510 base attack, the just medium for 4-star weapons, 41 quite percentage attack, and the passive says lowers the cost of this mine when you're planning. This gives you exactly the same as this. You know that nat weapons are the new ones that give you the same and good passive ones. The real one says when you're aiming is to say the attack loaded, the damage inflicted from the charged increases by 6% RON up to 12% R5 every half second, can be 6 times, and each load it takes 10 seconds, i.e. you're going to accumulate it then. 6x 636 damage inflicted on loaded, but 12x 672 damage inflicted on charged attacks, and the rest nothing much text. Then this weapon R5 is a lot of attack and 72% damage in loaded attacks. Who actually uses these attack weapons? And damage order today, users of Masters. This weapon is an arch of Masters when it arrived. That R4, R5, and I'd say that to R5 is maybe a better Masters arc. And this is not something strange because the 5-star weapons that exist from day 1 of the permanent game that you all have in your home. If you're playing for several years, you want to be able to crack them, and I understand perfectly this weapon is a arc of Masters, but from R4, R5 it is better to happen that it is also of Banner, with which it does not. You'll have a lot of R5 from this gun, but it's a Master's bow and a little bit better this gun to whom? It's good for Ganyu to be loaded to melt. I say to Tignari, it's not bad but capable. Tignari brings more performance to other bows, but it does not hurt to remember that many people Tignari only opsense with the subject of the loaded, but remember that half of the damage of Tignari also is ulti with which to invest. Managers in Tignari is to invest only in half of its damage. For that Tignari it is not advisable to take it with a set of Wandering. Do not take Tignari with Wandering, carry it with Golden Dreams. That mastery increases the damage of the spread reaction. That is additional damage inside your hit inside, and that's gonna hurt your ulti in your loads. That's better. Carry the Golden Dreams. That Wandering as this is equal. Tignari could carry this, not bad. Tignari brings out more performance other arcs. If it brings more performance to other arcs by the fee of bubbling all the damage and not only half of your damage, but it's a loaded bow. It's funny, it's like the Master, and there will be characters loaded in the future as who knows horrified DPS to harm doing. Charged in the field, and we're going with the free weapon that they're going to give us as an event that you'll all have in your account, RA5, with which this is the strong one. Interesting, and says 565 high base attack. The second tallest of 4 stars. Remember that the highest 4 stars is the Flesh of Darkness with 620, which is over here on screen, and which is highly recommended in Benedis. Sword weapon a hand and attack percentage 27%. That is to give us more attack. Passive attack says when the character is protected by a shield. Let's remember that today with playing with that Heal in itself, we have a crystallized and some shield, and this I don't know if as soon as thou shield you lose it, with which maybe it's a more dependent weapon of Zhongli teams for account so newer, or perhaps bring us some kind of shield in NATLAN later when the character is protected by a shield. The damage inflicted from the normal and the load increases by 40% to R5 and end. I'm going to say the R5 because since it's an event, you'll have it R5. This is already a lot. Is a lot who? Normal or sword laden attacks a hand as well. Keiching, although Keiching is played now to nuke, making elementary ulti elemental and then a normal one loaded, and you get out Ayato maybe. Yato with this is because a little more free to play ceiling, let's say, although it can be compared with a normal battle pass. Leave me comments that more swords one hand go with normal attacks, or Alhayan loves do more damage with his elementary ability with his normal, though it seems that goes to normal, but it also says that the critical probability of normal attacks and the charged increases 16% to 16 critical probability and 40 years inflicted normal and loaded. The contribution of the weapon is huge, is giant what the character is giving us, who can take advantage of it. It is still not clear which character could take advantage of it, entirely apart from Ayato, leaving me the comments who you come up with normal attacks and loaded sword a hand, some car and these out. Lynette Chiags. Carry, since Lynette Chinex. Carry can take advantage of it, but the reality is that, although you still can't make it potential, maybe some traveler carry normal attacks and loaded with the pyro element of the 5-3. I don't know, the thing is that the weapon's input is very large. It's too big to be a free weapon, as a lot of attack and a lot of damage inflicted on normal attacks. And loaded that at some point we will have sword characters a Karis hand in the field of normal and loaded, so I find it too powerful to be a free gun. Just a little bit more. These are the new weapons. Leave a good like, a good TBN. Leave me the comments to which character we are. It's happening. You think you can serve him and thank him for all the affection for the support. Give that a once a day, especially in deactive, just by commenting. Leave the end comment to subscribe with bell and commentary for algorithm. So lucky with it. And how you are at the end, those. You've reached the end, leaving me Traveler Pyro for algorithm to know who took in the end, and little more than 2 a lot to have very good day and bye.